Okay, so we've now got basic two-wire control, which I've showed there are a number of switches. Well, let's assume that on the machine you want to switch, you actually have a Nema magnetic starter, and you want to use that because that's mounted on the front of the machine like this one. Can we use the existing switches to switch the variable frequency drive? And the answer is, of course, yes. How we do that is going to reach back to what we were talking about, what a switch is. It's either momentary or it's maintain. Okay? Now this particular magnetic starter is set up with 3-wire control. You can see there's 3 wires and they go to the hold contact, the overload protection, which is virtually a stop switch normally closed, and when those reach the overload amount, they open up and disconnect the power. That's how they work. So they really are a stop switch wired in series. Now, the one thing that's different with the VFD over these type of switches is a stop switch is always in a Nema magnetic starter, always wired to be normally on, or what is referred to as normally closed. In a VFD, your stop switch is normally open. Those are the only two differences when wiring 2-wire and 3-wire. If you have any questions, just post them below the YouTube video here, and I'll see if I can try to explain what I mean if you're confused by that. At any rate, what can I do with this switch to control my VFD? Well, now we don't need this switch to control the motor, and we don't want this switch to control the motor. We want this switch to control the control side of the VFD, or the low voltage control side, just as we did with this. So we can use one of the contactors. Each one of these contactors that switched the motor full voltage, if we push a button here, it would close one of those contacts. So if we hook a wire to there and to there, which is L3, T3, and we push on this button, it closes that contact. And that contact in turn could signal the VFD for 2-wire control. Now, that's using it with control. Now, of course, this is a voltage device, so you would have to feed it voltage. But because this is a 3-phase machine and it has 3 lines, you only need to feed the voltage that the leads that feed the voltage to the coil, which would leave you that one left over. Okay, so for instance, I didn't use the original magnetic starter that came with the radial arm saw. Instead, I'm using this to control the power of the VFD. So, you know, you can see it's on. If I push stop, you're going to see the VFD blink. And because when you cut power to a VFD, it takes a while to drain the capacitor banks of the DC bus. So for short power intervals, interruptions, the VFD will actually operate. Okay, and there you see that's that's low voltage. So it's showing you low voltage, but there's still voltage in there. you want to wait till that stops flashing before you go in and actually touch anything in the VFD. The VFD actually contains, there we go. The VFD is now safe to work on. Okay, and you know, so all I'm using this for is to control the power to the VFD. Okay, you can see that I've got the black and white on the two leads to provide power to this, and the power comes out the bottom to the VFD. So there's one use of the magnetic starter, as well as so see, if I want to start the VFD, I push start and it'll flash, and once it starts flashing, she's charged, that's ready to go. Okay, this is not necessary. Your plug on the wall will act as your disconnect. But because I'm operating this system on 2-wire, I like it to disconnect here at the coil, having a mechanical lock, not a circuit lock. Okay? Now, how would... so what other things can you do with those? You know, other than what I said, is you could wire this up to control the controls, not the power as this one does. And what that would do is allow you to use 2-wire control with one of these contacts, but then also you could add 3-wire controls onto this and have multiple stations. Okay, which I'll go into further how 3-wire is done. Okay, so there are some other interesting things you can do. One being is that it's always nice to use the existing switch work on the saws because it's located usually in an awesome place, and plus these enclosures are usually much more robust than the little plastic switches, and you already have them with your saw. Another sort of type of use I've found kind of fun is I'm using a magnetic starter that came with the lathe, and what's good is I can control the power to the VFD here. I also have some others that I'll show you later, but what's nice is that extra contact that was left over in there can now I use it to switch a light. So I don't know if you can see that, but if I push it off and on, it tells me that my VFD is powered on, and I know to shut it off. So that's just another use that you could use, and all I'm doing is using one of the contacts on the existing magnetic starter. Okay, and if you look here, you can see the black and the white. The black and the white are going through a contact to switch the power to the VFD, and I'm left with one contact. So I just wired my lamp in there, so when I start the power to the VFD, it also switches my lamp. In some cases that's nice. It's just an opportunity to do something. Anyway, that's the basics for using motor switches of this type, and I will explain further how to do that with 3-wire, which is different. Thank you.